one of the first calls that came in was, I think, a great question. Listen.
Al, hey, it's Jay, long-time listener, first-time caller. Listen, conversation around the water cooler with some fellow workmates of mine coming into this election. What about if we bring up the conversation, something about what Trump did in the States, which is no taxation of your overtime? What if we were to bring up a conversation like that? I wonder how much interest we can build. Like guys in the construction sector and other service sectors, things like that, that put in more than just 80 hours every 2 weeks. We're, putting in 100, 120 hours every 2 weeks. I think quality of living would be much better if we were to live and receive wages without taxation on our overtime. Just a thought. Let's see where it goes. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Jay, I appreciate the call. Keep calling in, whether it's live during the show to 780-6868 or leave me a message as you just did at Hal's Hotline, 774-TALK, 774-8255. Great question. Let's go to an expert. Kim Moody joins us now, founder of Moody's Tax Law. Kim, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for doing this. What do you say to Jay?
I like the sentiment, but not going to happen. It's flawed policy in the whole scheme of things. And frankly, what's happening south of the border, that was a lot of populist stuff to try to get elected. And actually, to be frank, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and double check. But I don't think he said no tax on overtime. I think he said no tax on tips, but I
tips for sure.
On that,
but tips for sure. But yeah. I think there was talk as well of no tax on overtime. But I don't think he's done either of those things yet.
No, and I think on either of those, will it happen in Canada? Not a chance. Will it happen in the States? I'll believe it when I see it, because it's a very, very slippery slope as to where you draw the line in terms of what's overtime, what's not overtime. Can you manufacture overtime? Like, there's a ton of abuse in this. And frankly, just from a policy perspective, why should you not be taxed? I agree with the sentiment that, if tax rates are too high and if you work hard, you're punished. I totally agree with that sentiment. But I think the broad-based solution to that, to be fair, is to bring down rates. And certainly if I was in the chair of a policy advisor, that would be my recommendation. So there you go.
Yeah, that was my first thought when I listened to Jay's call and heard it the first time. I wasn't sure. That's why I wanted to bring you on and get your thoughts. You're a tax expert. But my initial thought was, okay, Jay, a great conversation. Let's get it going. But we need tax reform desperately. Desperately,
yeah. I've been, for anybody that follows my writings, which I write a lot, including the Financial Post, but, I've been on this pulpit for the last 15 years that we need tax reform, and it goes well beyond rates. Rates are the simple thing. We need to bring it down. What the more complex thing that we need to do is make it worthwhile for people like your caller to work hard. We shouldn't punish people like that want to work hard for the benefit of our country, frankly. And that includes entrepreneurs. We need to incentivize them to take risks. Right now, they're punished and they're vilified, frankly, by the left, that, they're all rich. They're not rich. They take significant risks. And so that's where we need some significant reform.
Yeah. It's interesting because in this election campaign, everybody's cutting taxes, and I welcome it because I think I'm taxed to death, and I think a lot of people agree they're taxed to death. But as you said, that's the easy part, right? I just think we need to do more than that. But you know what? We have a campaign, an election every 4 years. Often it's, a government gets a couple of terms and then there's another one. There's no momentum to significantly change the way we tax workers.
No, I agree with you. I'm going to show my bias here a little bit, but the only party that's even advocated for tax reform historically in the last number of elections has been the Conservatives. The Liberals have shown zero interest, and frankly, even in this election, they've shown zero interest in tax reform. I keep track of the policies that are announced from a tax perspective on my website. And, the policy announcements that are coming out from the Conservatives to try to reform the system right now are pretty prolific. The Liberals have done one. Well, to be fair, two. They announced a GST elimination on certain housing and a 1% reduction on the bottom tax rate. The Conservatives have done a lot more than that. So, but a lot of the stuff that's being announced is really, I'll call it, low-hanging fruit, and it's the easy stuff. It's the populist stuff. We need significant reform, and hopefully we can see that.
Yeah. What does that look like? Is it a flat tax? Which I'll be honest with you, I've heard about the flat tax. I mean, back to when Forbes was running for president in the States, probably earlier than that, but that's when I remember first hearing about it, and I kind of thought, boy, that's not a bad idea.
I don't mind a flat tax, frankly, and I think a lot of practitioners like me don't mind it as long as it's not punishing to the lower income group, right? Because let's say the flat tax is 20%. Well, 20% in a lower income group is worth a lot more, hurts a lot more than it does to the higher income groups. And so if you can position it in a way like the GST, which is a well-designed tax, by the way, if you can do it so it doesn't punish the poor, then great. I think it makes a ton of sense. It simplifies, but you got to do it in a way that ultimately, like I said, doesn't punish the poor. And in policy perspectives, we call that regressive. It cannot be a regressive tax. Regressive meaning that it hurts the poor more than it hurts the rich, so-called rich.
Yeah. Kim, thanks for doing this. I've enjoyed some of your stuff in the Financial Post. Would you like to send my listeners anywhere else or Financial Post? Or if they just Google your name, Kim Moody,